I found out my wife was cheating because her lover's wife sent me a picture of them in bed together. No warning, no suspicion. Just a regular Tuesday morning in April when a message from an unknown number turned my entire world inside out. The message came through at 7:43 a.m. while I was pouring coffee in our kitchen. Emma had already left for her early yoga class, something she'd started 3 months ago as part of her wellness journey. I was proud of her dedication, actually. 42 years old and more committed to fitness than ever. My phone buzzed. I glanced down, expecting a work email. Unknown number. Is this Tyler Bennett? I think we need to talk about our spouses. Attached was a photo that made my hands go numb. Emma, my wife of 17 years, the mother of my 2 daughters, naked in bed with a man I'd never seen before, her head resting on his chest, both of them clearly post-coital, both clearly comfortable with each other in a way that screamed familiarity. The timestamp on the photo was from 2 hours ago. I stood there in our kitchen, the kitchen we'd renovated last summer, where Emma had spent weeks obsessing over the perfect shade of gray for the cabinets, and felt reality fracture around me. Another message. My name is Rachel Donovan. That's my husband, Kevin, with your wife. I've been tracking his phone for weeks. They meet at the Riverside Inn every Tuesday and Thursday morning. I have more photos if you need them. I'm sorry you had to find out this way, but I thought you deserved to know. My coffee mug slipped from my hand and shattered on the tile floor we'd picked out together. I didn't move to clean it up. I just stood there, staring at the photo, my brain refusing to process what my eyes were seeing. This couldn't be Emma. Emma, who still kissed me goodbye every morning. Emma, who'd made love to me just 3 nights ago. Emma, who'd been planning our daughter Madison's 16th birthday party with the enthusiasm of a professional event coordinator. But it was her. The small butterfly tattoo on her left shoulder blade, the one she'd gotten on a dare during our honeymoon in Mexico. The silver bracelet I'd given her for our 15th anniversary, still on her wrist even in that photo. I texted back with shaking fingers. How long? Rachel's response came immediately. Based on hotel records I managed to access, at least 4 months, probably longer. 4 months, 16 weeks, countless mornings of yoga classes and coffee with the girls and early meetings at work. How many times had she come home from being with him and kissed me hello? How many family dinners had we shared where she'd smiled at me across the table with his scent probably still on her skin? I looked around our kitchen. Madison's honor roll certificate on the refrigerator. 12-year-old Olivia's artwork covering the side of the pantry door. The family photo from our vacation to Lake Tahoe last summer. All 4 of us grinning at the camera, Emma's arm around my waist. What the hell was real anymore? My phone buzzed again. Rachel. I'm filing for divorce. Kevin doesn't know I know yet. I wanted to gather evidence first. My attorney says I have enough to destroy him in court. I thought you might want the same opportunity. Don't confront her yet if you want to protect yourself financially. Document everything. I have the name of a good attorney if you need one. I stared at that message for a long time. The analytical part of my brain, the part that had made me successful as a financial analyst, was already clicking into gear despite the emotional earthquake happening in my chest. Rachel was right. Confronting Emma now, in the heat of anger and betrayal, would be stupid. But God, I wanted to. I wanted to call her right now and scream. I wanted to drive to that hotel and drag her out by her hair. I wanted to burn everything down. Instead, I took a screenshot of our conversation with Rachel. Then I carefully saved all the photos she'd sent. 3 more had come through. Emma and Kevin in the hotel parking lot, his hand on her lower back. Emma and Kevin at a restaurant I didn't recognize, holding hands across the table. Emma and Kevin in what looked like his car, her head thrown back in laughter at something he'd said. She looked happy. That was somehow worse than anything else. She looked genuinely, radiantly happy, in a way I hadn't seen her look in… how long? Years, maybe? I heard the garage door opening. Emma was home from her yoga class. I had maybe 30 seconds to decide how to play this. My heart was jackhammering against my ribs. Every instinct screamed at me to confront her, to throw my phone in her face and watch her try to explain the unexplainable. But Rachel's words echoed in my head. Don't confront her yet if you want to protect yourself financially. I had 2 daughters to think about. A house, retirement accounts, a business I'd built from nothing. 17 years of accumulated assets and shared property. I quickly deleted the message thread from my main screen and locked my phone. Then I grabbed paper towels and started cleaning up the spilled coffee and broken mug, forcing my hands to stop shaking. The door from the garage opened. Emma walked in, yoga mat under her arm, hair slightly mussed, cheeks flushed. From exercise, I'd always assumed. Now I knew better. "Hey, babe," she said brightly, kissing my cheek as she passed. She smelled like unfamiliar cologne mixed with hotel soap. How had I never noticed before? "You okay? You look pale." I looked at my wife, this stranger wearing Emma's face, and did the hardest thing I'd ever done. I smiled. "Just tired. Didn't sleep great. How was yoga?" I made it through dinner. That might sound simple, but sitting across from Emma while Madison complained about her AP history teacher and Olivia demonstrated her new TikTok dance between bites of pasta, all while those images burned behind my eyes, required every ounce of control I'd built over 17 years of investor presentations and client meetings. Emma smiled at me. Actually smiled, her hand brushing mine as she passed the salad bowl. "You're quiet tonight," she said. "Long day?" "Just thinking about the quarterly reports," I lied. The words came out smooth, practiced. "Numbers aren't adding up the way I expected." "They never do with you." She laughed, that familiar sound that used to mean home and safety. "You always find the discrepancies." The irony wasn't lost on me. After the girls retreated to their rooms, homework for Madison, whatever 12-year-olds did on their phones for Olivia, Emma and I fell into our usual routine. She loaded the dishwasher while I wiped down the counters. Domestic choreography we'd perfected over nearly 2 decades. "I'm thinking of adding a Saturday yoga session," she said, rinsing a plate. "Jennifer says the weekend instructor is amazing for core strength." Jennifer. I'd met her exactly twice at school functions. Did she know? Did any of Emma's friends know while I played the oblivious husband? "Whatever makes you happy," I said. She turned, sudsy hands dripping onto the tile we'd chosen together last summer. "You're the best, you know that? So supportive of my wellness journey." Wellness journey. Christ. I excused myself to the garage around 8:30, claiming I needed to check the e-bike charging. We'd bought the thing 6 months ago, a sleek electric model we were supposed to share for errands and exercise. Emma had been the primary user lately, taking it to the farmer's market, to coffee shops, to her yoga studio. Or so she'd said. The bike sat connected to our wall charger, the small display screen showing battery stats and charging history. I'd set up the companion app on my phone when we first got it, mostly to track maintenance intervals and tire pressure. The app synced with the charger, logging every charge cycle, duration, and power draw. I pulled up the interface, scrolling through the data with the same methodical attention I applied to financial statements. March 15th. Garage charge, 0.8 kWh, 2.5 hours. March 18th. Garage charge, 0.9 kWh, 3 hours. March 22nd. Unknown location, 1.7 kWh, 8 hours. I stopped scrolling. Unknown location, 8 hours. Nearly double the typical power draw. I went back further, my pulse accelerating with each swipe. March 25th. Unknown location, 1.8 kWh, overnight. March 29th. Unknown location, 1.6 kWh, overnight. April 1st. Unknown location, 1.9 yuan, overnight. The pattern emerged like a balance sheet exposing embezzlement. Every Tuesday and Thursday, Emma's yoga days, the bike charged at an unknown location, and the power consumption was consistently doubled. Doubled. My financial analyst brain started calculating before I could stop it. 2 bikes charging simultaneously would draw approximately twice the power. Kevin Donovan had an e-bike. Rachel had mentioned it in one of her follow-up texts, something about how the affair started when they'd met on a bike trail. They'd been riding together, charging together, at his condo based on the overnight timestamps that corresponded with the Riverside Inn dates Rachel had documented. I stood in the garage, phone in hand, staring at 4 months of evidence I'd been carrying in my pocket the entire time. Every Tuesday and Thursday, logged and time-stamped. Digital proof of Emma's schedule, her locations, her lies. The bike maintenance she'd mentioned last month, that weekend she'd taken it to the shop and come home late, showed an overnight charge at the unknown location. Sunday, March 3rd. 1.9 yuan, 8 hours. She'd spent a Sunday with him. I screenshotted everything, methodically, chronologically, creating a folder in my photos labeled bike data that could have been legitimate maintenance tracking. Then I exported the raw charging logs from the app, emailing them to the private account I'd created that afternoon. The garage door from the house opened. I looked up to find Emma wheeling in her yoga mat bag, still in her leggings and tank top from this morning. From 2 hours with Kevin Donovan at the Riverside Inn. "Still fussing with that bike?" she asked. "I swear, you're more obsessed with the tech than the actual riding." "Just checking the battery health," I said, keeping my voice level. "The charging pattern's been irregular." "Is that bad?" She set her bag down, genuine concern crossing her face. Or what looked like genuine concern. What the hell did I know anymore about what was real versus performed? "Could be." I unplugged the charger, the cable retracting with a soft whir. "Might need to take it in for diagnostics. The power draws are showing some anomalies." "Whatever you think is best." She moved past me toward the door, then paused. "Oh, I might need it Thursday morning. Coffee with Jennifer before yoga." "Thursday." "Of course." "Actually," I said, the plan forming even as I spoke, "I was thinking of using it Thursday. I've got that client meeting downtown and parking's a nightmare." She hesitated. Just a fraction of a second, but I caught it. "I could drop you off?" "No need. You've been hogging the bike anyway." I smiled, making it teasing. "My turn." "Fair enough." She laughed, but it sounded forced. "I'll just drive Thursday." I watched her retreat into the house, then turned back to the bike. The charging port gleamed under the garage fluorescence, innocent and functional. But the data didn't lie. Numbers never did. That night, after Emma fell asleep, or pretended to, I couldn't tell anymore, I lay in the darkness running scenarios. Rachel had said to wait, to gather evidence, to protect myself legally before confrontation. She'd been right about everything so far. But this was different. This was quantifiable, documented, time-stamped proof. Not just photos that Emma could explain away or hotel records she could deny. This was her bike, our shared property, charging at another man's residence with a frequency and pattern that told its own story. And the doubled power consumption, that detail kept circling back. 2 bikes, 2 people, overnight charges. The intimacy of it somehow felt worse than the photos. This was routine, domestic, the kind of comfortable cohabitation that took time to develop. How many mornings had Kevin made her coffee while their bikes charged side by side? How many evenings had they planned around charging schedules and battery life? My phone buzzed. Rachel, texting at 11:43 at night. "Kevin just got home. Told me he worked late. His bike's fully charged." I stared at the message, then typed back, "Check your utility bill. Look for usage spikes on Tuesdays and Thursdays. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Why? E-bike charging draws. If they're both charging at his place, it'll show in the consumption data. A longer pause this time. Holy hell, I never thought of that. I'm a financial analyst. I think of everything. This is evidence. Real, documented evidence. Yes. What are you going to do? I looked at the ceiling, at the crown molding Emma had insisted on during our bedroom renovation 3 years ago. At the fan we'd installed together, me holding the bracket while she connected the wires because she was better with electrical work. I don't know yet, but I'm keeping records of everything. Smart. Kevin has no idea I've been documenting. The element of surprise is crucial. How long are you waiting? My attorney says another 2 weeks, wants to establish pattern evidence beyond doubt. You? I thought about Madison's college applications next year, about Olivia's school play in 3 weeks, about the life we'd built that was apparently constructed on lies I'd been too trusting to see. Still deciding, but I'm not confronting until I have every advantage. Good. They don't deserve warnings. I set the phone down and closed my eyes, but sleep wouldn't come. Instead, I mentally reviewed the charging data, cross-referencing it with our credit card statements, with Emma's calendar, with every Tuesday and Thursday for the past 4 months. The numbers never lied. They were cold, precise, irrefutable. And I was very, very good with numbers. The charging data glowed on my laptop screen in the dim garage, a constellation of betrayal measured in kilowatt hours. I'd been sitting on the concrete floor for 20 minutes, cross-legged like I was meditating, documenting every overnight charge at what the app labeled Unknown Location B. The pattern was surgical. Every Tuesday and Thursday night for the past 16 weeks. The bike would arrive at Unknown Location B around 8:47 p.m., right after her supposed yoga class ended at 8:30. It would stay plugged in until 6:23 a.m., drawing power for nearly 10 hours. But that wasn't what made my hands shake as I took screenshots. The power consumption had doubled. Our e-bike's battery took 0.5 kWh for a full charge when plugged in at home. At Unknown Location B, the draw consistently showed 1.0 kilo, sometimes 1.1. The app's energy monitoring was precise. It had to be, since we'd opted for the premium plan that let us track charging costs across multiple locations. 2 bikes, charging simultaneously, his and hers. I saved each screenshot methodically, organizing them by date in a folder I'd labeled Bike Maintenance Records. The irony wasn't lost on me. Emma had actually used that phrase 3 weeks ago when I'd asked why the bike was at the shop overnight. Just routine maintenance, honey. They're keeping it overnight to run diagnostics. The bike had been at Kevin's condo, drawing 1.1 kWh, probably parked right next to his matching model. My phone buzzed. Rachel, did you get the utility bill data I sent? I had. She'd forwarded me 3 months of Kevin's electricity bills, obtained through methods she hadn't explained and I hadn't asked about. The spikes in his usage aligned perfectly with the charging data. Every Tuesday and Thursday, his power consumption jumped by exactly the amount 2 e-bikes would draw. Got it, I texted back. Question: does your utility company have a fraud reporting system? 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Yes. Why? I stared at the charging data, an idea crystallizing with the cold clarity that had become familiar over the past 2 weeks. The same analytical detachment that made me good at finding patterns in financial data, now repurposed for something darker. Unauthorized power usage. If someone's charging equipment at a residence without the account holder's knowledge, that's theft of service. The dots pulsed for a long time. Kevin doesn't know she's charging there? According to the utility company, he won't. Not unless he's monitoring his usage hour by hour. And even then, an e-bike draw is small enough to miss. You're thinking of reporting her? I'm thinking of building a case. I stood up, my knees popping from sitting too long on concrete. The bike hung on its wall mount above the charging station, innocent and gleaming. Emma had wanted the premium model, the one with integrated GPS and power monitoring. So we can track our carbon footprint, she'd said. Our carbon footprint. Jesus. I photographed the home charging station, making sure the utility meter was visible in the frame. Our account number, the kWh display, the timestamp. Then I pulled up the utility company's app and took screenshots of our billing history, highlighting the months when our power usage had actually decreased slightly, because the bike wasn't charging here as often. The garage door opener hummed. I had maybe 30 seconds. I closed the laptop, shoved it behind a storage bin, and grabbed a bike pump from the wall. By the time Emma's car pulled in, I was crouched next to the front tire, checking the pressure like I'd been there all along. Hey, she said, climbing out with her yoga mat bag. The same bag she'd carried into the Riverside Inn in Rachel's photos. Didn't expect you out here. Tire felt soft this morning. I squeezed the rubber, professional, focused. Thought I'd check it before the weekend. She moved past me toward the door, and I caught the scent that had become nauseatingly familiar. His cologne, faint but present, mixed with hotel soap. Not the lavender body wash from our bathroom. How was yoga? I kept my voice level, still examining the tire. Good, intense. We worked on balance poses. She paused at the door. I'm going to shower. Madison texted, she'll be home late, studying at Brittany's. Sounds good. The door closed. I stayed crouched by the tire, counting to 60, making sure she was upstairs. Then I pulled out my phone and opened the e-bike app again. The current location showed home garage. But when I checked the location history, there it was. Unknown location B, logged from 8:51 p.m. to 6:19 a.m. last night. Thursday night. Yoga night. I took one more screenshot, then opened my email and started a new draft. No recipient yet. Just a subject line. Energy theft documentation, account 847392. The body of the email laid out the facts in the same analytical style I'd use for a financial report. Dates, times, locations, kWh draws. I attached the screenshots, the charging data, the comparison between our decreased home usage and the increased draws at an unknown location. I noted the GPS coordinates embedded in the app data, coordinates that, when I'd checked them on Google Maps, showed a condo building in the Pearl District. Kevin's building. Unit 412, according to Rachel. I saved the draft but didn't send it. Not yet. Instead, I opened a new browser tab and searched for family law attorneys in Portland. Rachel had already given me 3 names, but I wanted to do my own research. I needed someone who understood technology evidence, who could present charging data and GPS logs in a way that would hold up in court. Because this wasn't just about the affair anymore. Emma had been using marital property, our jointly owned e-bike, for her relationship with Kevin. Charging it at his residence, using it for their Tuesday and Thursday rides together. The doubled power consumption suggested they'd made it a routine, a ritual. Probably rode to dinner, to whatever other locations they'd turned into their private geography. Our bike. My money, half of it anyway, from our joint account. I found an attorney's website, Melissa Grant, specializing in high-asset divorce with a focus on digital evidence and property documentation. Her bio mentioned a background in forensic accounting. Perfect. I saved her contact information and closed the browser. Upstairs, the shower was still running. I could picture Emma standing under the spray, washing away the evidence of her Thursday night. Maybe she was thinking about Kevin. Maybe she was planning next Tuesday's excuse. Maybe she was thinking about me at all. My phone buzzed again. Rachel. I talked to my attorney. She says the utility fraud angle is risky, might look vindictive, but the property misuse for the bike? That's solid, especially if you're filing for custody and need to show a pattern of deception. Custody. The word hit different than divorce. Madison and Olivia weren't just collateral damage in this. They were the reason I was sitting in a garage at 9 p.m. on a Thursday, building a case instead of burning everything down. What did she recommend? I typed. Document everything. The charging data is gold. It proves routine, duration, and deception. Combined with the affair evidence, it shows a pattern of using marital assets to facilitate the relationship. In Oregon, that matters for property division. And the utility fraud report? Save it as leverage. Don't file unless you need it. But having it ready shows you're serious. I looked at the email draft on my phone, the one addressed to the utility company's fraud department. Rachel was right. It was a nuclear option. But nuclear options had their place. The shower shut off upstairs. I stood, put the bike pump back on its hook, and brushed concrete dust off my jeans. In the house, I could hear Emma moving around in our bedroom, getting dressed, probably in the comfortable clothes she wore after yoga. After Kevin. My laptop was still hidden behind the storage bin. Tomorrow, I'd transfer all the data to an encrypted drive, make backups, organize everything for the attorney I'd be calling Monday morning. Tonight, I'd eat dinner with my wife. I'd ask about her day. I'd pretend the bike hanging on the wall was just a bike and not a GPS-tracked, power-monitored witness to 4 months of betrayal. I pulled out my phone one more time and added a reminder. Monday, 9 a.m. Call Melissa Grant. Then I went inside to set the table for 2. The utility company's customer service line put me on hold for the 3rd time. I sat in my car outside a coffee shop 2 towns over, phone pressed to my ear, watching normal people live their normal lives through the window. Mr. Bennett? The supervisor finally came back on. I've reviewed the account notes. You're reporting unauthorized usage at a secondary location? That's correct. I kept my voice level, professional. The financial analyst explaining a discrepancy. Our shared e-bike has been charging at an address that isn't our residence. The power consumption data shows clear patterns, every Tuesday and Thursday for the past 4 months. The kWh draws are doubled, indicating 2 bikes charging simultaneously. And you're saying you didn't authorize this usage? The bike is registered to our home address. Any charging at other locations using our account credentials constitutes unauthorized access. I'd rehearsed this. I can provide the GPS logs, charging timestamps, and power consumption data. The pattern is unmistakable. A pause. Keyboard clicking. Sir, typically these matters are civil disputes between... The e-bike app is linked to our residential utility account for billing purposes. Someone has been systematically using our credentials to charge at a different address, creating additional costs that I'm being billed for. That's not a civil matter. That's utility fraud. More clicking. I could almost hear the supervisor's thought process. Was this worth the paperwork? Did it rise to the level of actual fraud? I'll need you to submit a formal complaint, she said finally. Include all the documentation you mentioned. We'll initiate an audit of both addresses, yours and the secondary location. If there's evidence of systematic unauthorized usage, we'll refer it to our fraud investigation unit. How long does the audit take? 4 to 6 weeks typically. But Mr. Bennett, I should mention, if this involves a family member or someone with legitimate access to your account credentials, the investigation might conclude, my wife gave the login credentials to her boyfriend so they could charge their bikes at his condo. The words came out flat, clinical. Without my knowledge or consent, using marital property to facilitate an extramarital affair. Is that legitimate access? Silence on the other end. Then, I'll flag this as priority review. You should receive the complaint forms within 24 hours. I ended the call and sat there, watching steam rise from someone's latte through the coffee shop window. A couple at a corner table, leaning close, laughing. Were they married? Cheating? Did it matter? My phone buzzed. Rachel Donovan. Confronted Kevin last night. He admitted everything. Lawyer meeting tomorrow. You should move soon. They might warn each other. My hands tightened on the steering wheel. The timeline was accelerating. If Kevin told Emma that Rachel knew, if Emma realized the evidence was piling up. Another text from Rachel. Don't let her destroy evidence. Whatever you're planning, do it now. I drove home through the late afternoon traffic, my mind running calculations. Emma would be home in an hour. Madison had debate practice until 6. Olivia was at a friend's house until dinner. The house would be empty when Emma arrived. The garage door opener felt heavier than usual in my hand. I pulled in, killed the engine, and sat there looking at the wall-mounted charging station. The little LED display showed the last charge. 11:47 p.m., 2.3 kW. Our bike charged at home the night before yesterday, but the app on my phone told a different story. I pulled it up one more time, screenshot after screenshot already saved to 3 different cloud accounts. Tuesday, 9:15 a.m., unknown location, B, 4.6 kW. Thursday, 9:30 a.m., unknown location B, 4.8 kW. The pattern went back months, a digital diary of every time Emma had wheeled our bike into Kevin Donovan's garage. I got out of the car and walked to the charging station. The display could show historical data if you knew which buttons to press. I'd figured it out last week, scrolling through weeks of charges, matching them to the app data. The station itself was dumb. It just recorded whatever plugged in. But the app was smart. The app knew exactly where each charge happened. I heard Emma's car in the driveway. My heart rate spiked, but I stayed where I was, standing next to the charging station, phone in hand. The garage door was still open. She'd see me the moment she pulled in. Her Lexus appeared, slowing as she spotted me. Through the windshield, I watched her expression shift. Confusion, then concern. She pulled in carefully, parking in her usual spot. Hey! She got out, purse over her shoulder, yoga mat bag in hand. The costume was perfect. You're home early. Took the afternoon off. I gestured to the charging station. Wanted to check something on the bike system. She glanced at the station, then back at me. Is something wrong with it? Depends on your definition of wrong. I turned the phone screen toward her. The app was open, showing the charge history. Can you explain these? Emma stepped closer, squinting at the screen. I watched her face as she processed what she was seeing. The timestamps, the location markers, the doubled power consumption. I don't, she trailed off. Her fingers tightened on the yoga mat bag. What am I looking at? Charging logs. Every time our bike charged somewhere. Notice anything interesting about unknown location B? The color drained from her face. Tyler. Every Tuesday and Thursday. For 4 months. The same address. I pulled up the map view, zoomed in on Kevin Donovan's condo complex. Want to tell me about your bike maintenance routine? She took a step back. How did you? The app tracks everything, Emma. GPS, power consumption, charging duration. Did you think I wouldn't notice? Or did you just not care? It's not. She stopped, recalculated. I could see her mind racing, trying to find the right explanation. Tyler, let me explain. The kWh draws are doubled. My voice stayed level, analytical. This was just data, just numbers. Because you were charging 2 bikes, yours and his, at his condo, while I was at work, while our daughters were at school. Please. I filed a fraud complaint with the utility company this morning. I turned back to the charging station, pulled up the historical data on its display. They're auditing both addresses. ours and his. Systematic, unauthorized usage of account credentials. They take that pretty seriously. Emma's face went white. You did what? I also contacted an attorney. Did you know that using marital property to facilitate an affair can impact asset division? The bike, the charging account, even the electricity costs, all marital property, all documented. I met her eyes. Every Tuesday and Thursday, every charge, every ride. Tyler, stop! Her voice cracked. Just stop. We can talk about this, like we talked about your yoga classes. I pulled up another screenshot. Or your wellness journey. Or all those Tuesday and Thursday mornings when you were supposedly working on yourself. She set down the yoga mat bag. Her hands were shaking. How long have you known? Long enough to document everything. Long enough to build a case. Long enough to make sure you can't destroy the evidence. I pocketed my phone. Rachel Donovan sends her regards, by the way. She's the one who sent me the photos. You and Kevin at the Riverside Inn. Very thorough documentation. Emma's knees seemed to buckle. She caught herself against her car. Oh my God. The utility audit will take 4 to 6 weeks. My attorney says we should file before then. Get ahead of it. Use the charging logs as evidence of systematic deception and misuse of marital assets. I paused. He's particularly interested in the bike itself. Joint property, used exclusively for the affair. Makes a compelling argument for custody of assets. Custody of... Emma's voice rose. It's a bike, Tyler. You're going to fight over a bike? I'm going to fight for everything. The words came out cold, final. Every asset, every account, every piece of property we accumulated together while you were screwing Kevin Donovan in his condo. The bike's just the beginning. She slid down against the car door, ending up sitting on the garage floor. I never meant... The charging logs show you were there for hours. I kept going, relentless. Not just quick visits, full mornings, the power consumption data, the GPS timestamps. They paint a very detailed picture of your routine, every week, like clockwork. Stop! She covered her face with her hands. Please stop. The utility company will verify the address. They'll match it to Kevin's account. They'll see the double draws, the systematic pattern, and then they'll want to know who authorized it. I crouched down, making her look at me. Was it you, Emma? Did you give him our login credentials? Or did he hack the account? I gave them to him. Her voice was barely a whisper. So we could charge the bikes. Thank you, I stood up. That's exactly what I needed to hear. Voluntary disclosure of account credentials to facilitate unauthorized usage. The utility company's going to love that. The utility fraud complaint hit within 72 hours. I was at my desk when Emma called, her voice tight with panic. Tyler, there's someone from Pacific Power at the house. They want to inspect our garage charger. They're saying something about irregular usage patterns, and I'm aware, I said, keeping my tone flat. I filed the complaint. Silence. Then, you what? Someone's been using our e-bike charging account without authorization. Doubled power draws at an address that isn't ours. The utility company takes energy theft seriously, Emma. It's a criminal matter. Tyler, please. I ended the call. The charging logs had told the perfect story. Every Tuesday and Thursday for 16 weeks, the app showed our account credentials accessing a charger at Kevin's condo building. The power consumption data didn't lie. 2 bikes charging simultaneously, pulling twice the normal kilowatt hours. Kevin's building management had confirmed to Pacific Power that the garage chargers were resident access only, requiring either a key fob or account credentials. Emma had voluntarily given Kevin our login information. That made her complicit in what the utility company classified as service theft, using account credentials to access charging infrastructure without authorization, effectively stealing electricity from other residents who subsidized the building's charging stations through their HOA fees. My attorney, Jeffrey Palmer, had walked me through the implications during our second meeting. The utility fraud gives you leverage, he'd said, reviewing the documentation I'd compiled. It's not about the actual cost, maybe $200 over 4 months. It's about establishing a pattern of deception and misuse of marital assets. Plus, if she contests custody, this demonstrates poor judgment and willingness to engage in fraudulent activity. The divorce papers were filed the same day as the utility complaint. Emma was served at the house while I was at work, Madison and Olivia at school. I'd timed it deliberately. No audience, no scene in front of the girls. That evening, I sat them down in the living room. Emma was upstairs, hadn't come out of the bedroom since the process server left. "Your mom and I are getting divorced," I said. No preamble, no cushioning. Madison's face went pale. Olivia started crying immediately. "Why?" Madison asked, her voice barely audible. "Your mother's been having an affair for the past 4 months. I found out last week." Olivia's crying intensified. Madison just stared at me, processing. She was 16, old enough to understand, old enough to be angry. "With who?" Madison asked. "Someone from her yoga class, it doesn't matter who." "Does it matter that you're telling us like this?" Madison's voice cracked. "Like you're giving a weather report?" The accusation hit harder than I expected, but I couldn't afford to break down, not now. "I'm telling you the truth. You deserve that much." Emma appeared at the top of the stairs, mascara streaked, still wearing the same clothes from that morning. "Tyler, please. Not like this. We should talk to them together." "Together?" I looked up at her. "Like how we were together when you were charging Kevin's e-bike at his condo. Like how we were together during all those Tuesday and Thursday yoga classes that never happened." Madison's head whipped toward Emma. "Mom?" Emma descended the stairs slowly, hands shaking. "Madison, Olivia, I made a terrible mistake. I'm so sorry. But your father is being accurate." I stood up. "Pacific Power is conducting an audit of our charging account. The fraud investigation includes Kevin's building management, their HOA, and potentially criminal charges depending on what the utility decides. You gave him our credentials, Emma. That's documented in your own text messages." I'd accessed our phone records through our shared account. Perfectly legal. The texts between Emma and Kevin included one from early January. "Here's our e-bike login. Username Tyler Bennett 47. Password Madison 2007. Chargers in the garage, 3rd floor, west side." Emma sank onto the bottom stair. "You didn't think I'd find out. You didn't think there'd be consequences." I turned back to Madison and Olivia. "I need you both to understand something. This isn't about punishing your mother. This is about making sure you're protected, that our family's assets are divided fairly, and that the truth comes out." "Our family's already destroyed," Madison said quietly. She stood up, walked past Emma without looking at her, and went upstairs. Her bedroom door slammed hard enough to rattle the picture frames in the hallway. Olivia followed, still crying, pausing only to let Emma hug her. Emma whispered something I couldn't hear, and then Olivia was gone too. We sat in silence, Emma on the stairs, me standing in the living room that suddenly felt like a courtroom. "The utility audit is just the beginning," I said finally. "Jeffrey's filing for primary custody. The charging logs establish a pattern of deception and poor judgment. You used marital property to facilitate an affair, gave access to our accounts to a third party, and engaged in what Pacific Power classifies as service theft." "Over a bike charger?" Emma's voice was hollow. "You're destroying our family over electricity charges?" "I'm not the one who destroyed anything." I picked up my laptop bag. "I'm staying at a hotel until we figure out temporary living arrangements. The mortgage payment's covered through next month. After that, we'll see what the court says." "Tyler, wait." But I was already at the door. My car was packed. I'd loaded it during lunch, methodical and efficient. Clothes, toiletries, work documents, the external hard drive with all the evidence backed up in triplicate. The hotel was a Hampton Inn off I-5, anonymous and clean. I checked in, carried my single suitcase to a third-floor room that smelled like industrial detergent and recycled air. Sat on the edge of the bed and stared at the generic landscape painting above the TV. My phone buzzed. Rachel Donovan. How'd it go? Papers served. Girls told. I'm out of the house. Kevin moved out yesterday, filed this morning. His attorney's already pushing for mediation. Emma doesn't know what's coming. Neither did Kevin. The utility thing was brilliant. I set the phone down. Brilliant. The word felt wrong, clinical. I'd weaponized our e-bike charging data, turned a shared account into evidence of fraud, transformed Tuesday and Thursday yoga classes into a documented pattern of deception spanning 16 weeks. The charging logs showed everything: timestamps, locations, power consumption, duration. Kevin's condo building at 8:47 p.m. every Tuesday and Thursday. 2 bikes charging simultaneously until morning. The data was irrefutable, time-stamped, backed by utility records and building access logs. Jeffrey had explained the legal strategy during our third meeting. The utility fraud complaint serves multiple purposes. First, it establishes that Emma willingly gave marital account credentials to a third party for personal benefit. Second, it demonstrates poor judgment and potential criminal activity. Third, it gives us leverage in custody negotiations. A judge won't look favorably on a parent engaged in fraud, even minor fraud. Fourth, it complicates her relationship with Kevin. If Pacific Power pursues charges, Kevin's exposed too. That puts pressure on both of them. What are the chances they actually press charges? I'd asked. Low, honestly. The dollar amount's negligible. But the investigation itself is the point. The audit, the documentation, the official record. It all goes into the divorce file. My phone buzzed again. Emma this time. Please come home. We need to talk. The girls are devastated. I typed and deleted 3 responses before settling on. Talk to your attorney. Another buzz, immediate. I don't have an attorney. You should get one. I turned off the phone. The hotel room was quiet except for the muffled sound of traffic from I-5. I thought about Madison's face when I'd told them, the way she'd looked at me like I was a stranger. Olivia's tears. Emma on the stairs, broken and small. Then I thought about the Riverside Inn photos. Emma's face in those images, laughing and alive in ways I hadn't seen in months. The butterfly tattoo on her shoulder blade, visible as she leaned into Kevin's chest. The hotel room that wasn't ours. The life that didn't include me. The charging logs had been the key. Without them, it would have been my word against hers, accusations and denials. But the data didn't lie. Every charge, every timestamp, every doubled kilowatt-hour draw, irrefutable proof of exactly where she'd been and what she'd been doing. I pulled up the e-bike app on my laptop one more time. The account was now locked to my credentials only. I'd changed the password the day after Rachel's first message. The charging history was screenshotted, backed up, and filed with Jeffrey. The last entry showed a charge at our home garage. April 23rd, 7:15 a.m., single bike, normal power draw. Just me now. Solo rides from here on out. The Pacific Power investigator showed up at my hotel room 3 days after I filed the complaint. Mr. Bennett, I'm David Walsh, Fraud Investigation Unit. He held up credentials that looked official enough. Mid-50s, gray suit, tired eyes that had probably seen every scam in the book. You filed a complaint regarding unauthorized utility usage at a property belonging to Kevin Donovan. I let him in, gestured to the small table by the window where I'd spread out printouts of the charging logs. The property owner gave my wife access to his electrical infrastructure. She used our shared account credentials to charge both their e-bikes simultaneously, effectively making me pay for his electricity. Walsh sat down, pulled reading glasses from his pocket. Walk me through it. I did. Showed him the app interface, the doubled kilowatt-hour draws, the timestamps matching Emma's yoga class schedule. Showed him the text messages where Emma gave Kevin our login credentials. Showed him the GPS data placing the bike at Kevin's condo address. Walsh took notes on an actual paper notepad. And you're certain these charges originated from Mr. Donovan's residence? The GPS coordinates match his condo's address exactly. The power consumption doubled only at that location. Our home charger shows normal single bike draws. How much are we talking about, dollar-wise? I'd done the math. Of course I'd done the math. Approximately $47 over 4 months. But it's not about the money. It never is. Walsh looked up from his notes. Mr. Bennett, I'm going to be straight with you. This is technically utility fraud, yes. Your wife provided account access to a third party who used it to draw power at a different location. But we're talking about less than $50. The district attorney's office isn't going to prosecute this criminally. I'd expected that. What about civil penalties? We can pursue those. Administrative fines, restitution, formal complaint on their records. He tapped the printouts. But I'm guessing this isn't really about electricity theft. It's about documentation. I'm in the middle of a divorce. This establishes a pattern of deception and misuse of shared marital resources. Walsh nodded slowly. That makes more sense. For what it's worth, this is solid evidence of exactly that. I'll complete the investigation, issue findings. Both your wife and Mr. Donovan will receive formal notices of violation. They'll have to pay restitution plus administrative fees, probably run them each about $200 when it's done. And the report? Public record once it's finalized. Your attorney can subpoena it for divorce proceedings. He stood, collected his notepad. I'll need to interview both parties, Mrs. Bennett and Mr. Donovan. They'll know you filed the complaint. I'm aware. After Walsh left, I checked my phone. 3 missed calls from Emma. 2 voicemails I hadn't listened to. A text from Jeffrey Palmer. Hearing scheduled for temporary custody and asset restraints. May 15th, 9 a.m. Judge Catherine Brennan presiding. 2 weeks away. My phone buzzed. Madison this time. Dad, Mom's freaking out. She says some investigator is coming to talk to her about the bike. I sat on the edge of the hotel bed. Pacific Power is investigating the utility fraud complaint I filed. You actually called the power company on her? Madison's voice carried that same disgusted tone from when I'd told them about the divorce. That's insane. She stole electricity, gave our account credentials to her, to Kevin. That's fraud. It's like $12, Dad. 47. And it's not about the money, it's about everything's evidence, I know. You said that already. A pause. Olivia's crying again. She doesn't understand why you won't come home. The words hit harder than they should have. I can't explain this to you in a way that makes sense right now, but your mother made choices that destroyed our family. I'm protecting what's left. By treating her like a criminal? She committed fraud, Madison. That's literally what the law calls it. God, Dad, listen to yourself. The line went dead. I stared at the phone for a long moment, then pulled up the e-bike app. I'd changed the password the day I moved out, locked Emma out completely. The bike sat in our garage, my garage technically, since I was still paying the mortgage, showing 87% charge on the home wall unit. Emma couldn't use it anymore, couldn't charge it, couldn't access the account. The small victories were supposed to feel better than this. Jeffrey Palmer called the next morning. Pacific Power contacted me. They're moving forward with the investigation. Walsh says it's solid. He's recommending administrative penalties for both Emma and Donovan. Good. There's something else. Emma's retained counsel, Melissa Grant out of Portland. She's sharp, Tyler. This isn't going to be the clean sweep you might be hoping for. I sat up straighter on the hotel bed. What's her angle? She's already filed a motion challenging the utility fraud complaint as harassment. Claims you're weaponizing administrative processes to intimidate Emma during divorce proceedings. That's ridiculous. She actually committed fraud. Technically, yes. But Grant's arguing the complaint is retaliatory and disproportionate. She's also requesting the court order you to restore Emma's access to the e-bike account, claiming it's a shared marital asset she has equal right to use. I laughed. Actually laughed. The bike she used to visit her lover, the account she gave credentials to so he could steal our electricity? That's our argument. But Grant's going to paint you as controlling and vindictive. She'll say you're isolating Emma from transportation, making it harder for her to see the girls, interfere with her daily life. She has a car, which you're also listed on the title for. Grant's building a narrative of financial abuse, that you're using your control of shared assets to punish and control Emma. I stood, paced to the window. Outside, Lake Oswego looked exactly like it always did. Normal people living normal lives, not dealing with lawyers arguing over who had the right to charge an e-bike. What do you recommend? We stay the course. The utility fraud is legitimate, documented, and supports our larger case about deception and misuse of marital resources. But be prepared for Emma to look sympathetic. Wronged wife, controlling husband, using the system to harass her. She cheated for 4 months, used our bike to visit him, gave him our account. I know, the evidence supports you. But family court isn't about evidence alone. It's about narratives. Grant's good at narratives. After we hung up, I pulled up the charging logs again. Studied the pattern I'd memorized weeks ago. Tuesday and Thursday mornings, like clockwork. The doubled draws at Kevin's condo, the GPS coordinates that didn't lie. Evidence didn't care about narratives. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. Tyler Bennett? Speaking. This is Kevin Donovan. His voice was tight, angry. We need to talk. I should have hung up. Jeffrey would tell me to hang up. Instead, about what? About you trying to get me charged with a crime over a bike charger. Are you serious with this? You used my account credentials to draw power at your residence. That's theft of services. Emma gave me the login. I didn't steal anything. You knowingly used account access that wasn't authorized for your location. The law's pretty clear on that. It's $40, you psycho. Then paying the restitution shouldn't be a problem. Silence. Then, you really want to destroy everyone over this? Emma, me, Rachel, your kids? I didn't destroy anything. You and Emma did that when you started screwing in hotel rooms while I paid for the bike she rode to meet you. Rachel's taking everything, the house, the retirement accounts, full custody of our son. You happy about that? That's between you and Rachel. You gave her the ammunition, those charging logs. You sent them to her. She asked for documentation. I provided it. You're a piece of work, Bennett. You know that? Kevin's voice cracked slightly. We made a mistake. Emma and I, we made a mistake. But you're turning it into some kind of legal crusade. You made a choice. Every Tuesday and Thursday for 4 months. That's not a mistake, that's a pattern. God, no wonder, Emma. He stopped himself. No wonder, Emma. What? Cheated on me? Go ahead, finish that thought. Forget it. This is pointless. He hung up. I sat there holding the phone, Kevin's half-finished accusation hanging in the air. No wonder, Emma. What? No wonder Emma found someone else? No wonder Emma needed to escape? No wonder Emma looked for warmth somewhere other than our marriage. I opened the charging app again. stared at the data points, the doubled kilowatt-hour draws, the timestamps, the GPS coordinates. Evidence didn't wonder. Evidence didn't question itself. Evidence just was. The hearing was in 12 days. The judge awarded me primary custody, not because of the utility fraud. Judge Brennan dismissed that as petty vindictiveness during the hearing, but because Emma couldn't explain the pattern. 4 months of documented deception. 16 weeks of lies told to me, to our daughters, to everyone. Melissa Grant tried to spin it as a personal failing, separate from Emma's parenting, but the charging logs told a different story. Systematic planning, routine dishonesty, a double life maintained with precision. Madison moved in with Emma anyway. She was 16, old enough to choose. Olivia stayed with me during the week, weekends with her mother. The custody arrangement nobody wanted. The divorce finalized 8 months after Rachel's first text message. Emma got the house. I didn't fight it, despite Jeffrey's protests. I took the retirement accounts, the investment portfolio, and yes, the e-bike. She got her car, half the savings, and primary responsibility for the mortgage I'd paid for 14 years. Kevin and Rachel's divorce settled a month before ours. He lost almost everything, just like he'd said. Rachel was efficient, methodical, ruthless. We exchanged exactly 3 messages after the hearings ended. It's done. Same here. Was it worth it? I never answered that last one. I sold the e-bike 6 months after the divorce finalized. Posted it online for half what we'd paid, just to be rid of it. A college student bought it for his commute, excited about the GPS features and power monitoring. I didn't mention what that monitoring had documented. I just handed him the charger and changed the account password one final time. The utility fraud investigation concluded with administrative penalties, $217 each for Emma and Kevin, exactly as David Walsh predicted. The report became part of the public record. Nobody cared except the lawyers who'd billed both sides thousands of dollars to argue about it. Madison barely speaks to me now. Olivia tries to bridge the gap, but she's 13, too young to carry that weight. Emma and I communicate through a parenting app, brief messages about pickup times and doctor's appointments. Professional, distant, like strangers coordinating logistics. I see Emma sometimes at Olivia's school events. She looks different. Lighter, maybe, or just older. We sit on opposite sides of the auditorium. She came alone to the winter concert. I heard through Olivia that she and Kevin didn't last 6 months past the divorces. Turns out a relationship built on Tuesday and Thursday mornings doesn't survive full-time reality. I haven't dated anyone. Haven't wanted to. I work, I see Olivia. I exist in the life I fought so hard to protect. The condo I rent is clean and quiet. No family photos on the walls yet. Maybe eventually. Sometimes I think about that first morning. The coffee mug shattering on the kitchen floor. The photo from Rachel that fractured everything. I could have confronted Emma immediately, screamed and raged and burned it all down in the heat of discovery. Instead, I documented, calculated, built a case with the same precision I'd applied to financial portfolios. I won, technically. Primary custody. Favorable asset division. Emma's deception laid bare in court documents and utility fraud reports. But Madison won't return my calls. Olivia cries on Sunday nights before going back to Emma's. The house I paid for belongs to someone else now. And I'm alone in a rented condo, the e-bike long sold, the charging logs backed up on a hard drive I'll never look at again. The data didn't lie. The evidence was irrefutable. The case was airtight. And none of it brought back what I actually lost. There's a lesson here, I suppose. Something about how betrayal doesn't just destroy what was, it poisons what comes after. How the tools we use to protect ourselves can become weapons that wound everyone, including us. How winning in court doesn't mean winning in life. Or maybe the lesson is simpler, that relationships aren't financial portfolios to be analyzed, and love can't be reduced to charging logs and GPS coordinates. That somewhere between blind trust and total surveillance, there's a middle ground I never learned to navigate. Emma destroyed our marriage with her choices. I destroyed our family with mine. The difference matters less than I thought it would. I still check the e-bike app sometimes, even though I don't own the bike anymore. The account exists, empty now, showing no active devices. Just historical data from a life that doesn't exist anymore. Tuesday and Thursday mornings at unknown location B. The doubled kilowatt draws. The pattern that proved everything and fixed nothing. Last week, Olivia asked me if I'd ever forgive her mother. I didn't know how to answer. Forgiveness implies moving past something, and I'm not sure I've moved anywhere at all. I'm just existing in the aftermath, in the quiet space where a family used to be. I don't know, sweetheart, I finally said. I honestly don't know. She nodded like she understood, but she's 13. She shouldn't have to understand this. None of us should. The charging logs are still backed up on 3 separate drives, locked away in a safe deposit box with the divorce decree and custody orders. Evidence preserved for a war that's already over. Sometimes I wonder if I should delete them, let go of the data that defined everything. But I'm a financial analyst. I keep records. It's what I do. It's all I know how to do. And maybe that's the real lesson. That some of us are so good at documenting the collapse that we forget to prevent it. So focused on proving we were right that we lose sight of what we were trying to save. The numbers never lied. But they never told the whole truth either.